What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. And today we're doing week 3 recaps for the 2017 through 2018 NFL season. So I'm going to try to start doing these during the days of the games happening, but like I said, I couldn't do it yesterday, and the Giants game was a priority to recap. So let's get into the recap for the week 3 games. We'll start off with Baltimore, and by the way, I'm going to have the timestamps down below, hopefully. So you guys can skip through if you want to and get my thoughts on some games. We'll start off with Baltimore at Jacksonville. The Jacksonville Jaguars completely demolished the Baltimore Ravens 44-7. You know, a lot of these London games tend to be very different and not very storytelling as to what would have happened in the U.S. Guys, I don't think the Baltimore Ravens would have lost this bad if they did lose at all to the Jacksonville Jaguars if this game happened in the U.S. I just think the Baltimore Ravens aren't used to playing in London. They never got off the plane, and you know they're still in the U.S. basically. I don't think they played up to, they weren't prepared for this game whatsoever. I mean, you had players like Mercedes Lewis getting 3 touchdowns in one game. He's only had 3 touchdowns in the last 2 or 3 years. So the fact that he has 3 touchdowns in one game is very peculiar. And so not everything that happens in the U.S. in London really would happen in the U.S. for some games. But this is one of those weird games that we see. Joe Flacco threw for 8 of 18, 28 yards, and 2 interceptions, and those 2 interceptions coming from AJ Bouye, who's coming from Houston, and Jalen Ramsey, who is a complete beast at cornerback. Those 2 are some great cornerbacks. They made some great plays on the ball there. Blake Bortles actually had a good game. I'm telling you, this is like an alternate universe. This game was like an alternate universe kind of thing. Blake Bortles had, I believe, four touchdown passes, over 300 yards. I mean, he played outstanding. I don't think he had 300 yards. I think it was... Did he have 300 yards? I don't know. But still. Oh, yeah, he had 244 or something like that. Sorry about that. But he still had 4 touchdown passes, and that's insane. So, yeah, and one thing you can get out of this as, for the Baltimore Ravens, Alex Collins, the running back who, out of Arkansas, who the Baltimore Ravens got from the Seattle Seahawks practice squad, should be getting more carries. That guy is an absolute beast for Baltimore. He's probably the best back on that roster. So he should definitely be getting more carries. But yeah, the Baltimore Ravens get routed 44-7. Moving on, the Atlanta Falcons versus the Detroit Lions. And wow, did the Detroit Lions get robbed this game. Right at the end of the game, Golden Tate, who looked to me like he was in the end zone, and the call on the field was touchdown, so I would have just stood with the call on the field. It was a touchdown, and the Detroit Lions win it. But a very gutsy call by the refs to overturn that. I don't think there was enough there to really say, oh, that wasn't a touchdown. But, and I guess it's based on the opinion, but I've seen plays go completely, where it's, not just like that. And it wasn't blatant enough to reverse the call. I've seen calls like that stood as a touchdown, or stood as not a touchdown, or whatever it is. But I don't know what the refs were thinking there. But the Detroit Lions got robbed there. They had a great game. Matt Ryan did not whatsoever. I mean, he threw for over 300 yards, yes, but he threw some stupid interceptions. And I mean, that Detroit secondary is really looking good right now. Glover Quinn with a great interception, and I believe another cornerback had an interception. I don't know if it was Slay or not, but Detroit Lions had a good game, good fight against the Atlanta Falcons. The Atlanta Falcons remains 2-0. Moving on, the Cleveland Browns versus the Indianapolis Colts. Now, I should have went into, I predicted the Cleveland Browns to win. I should have gone into this game saying the Indianapolis Colts are going to be hungry for the win. They are the better team, yes. Both these teams are winless. So, who's going to be more hungry for the win? You would say it was the Colts. I don't know why I chose the Browns. I thought maybe Deshaun Kaiser would get this done, and he didn't. He wound up throwing 3 interceptions again. and he's not looking good whatsoever. But I mean, there is some optimism for the Browns. Keep in mind, this is a very, very young Browns team. I mean, very young. I mean, these guys are like all draft picks. Granted, you got some older players there and some free agents there, but I mean, this is a very young team, and you can take a lot away from this game. They scored 28 points. They almost came back. Just give it some years, give it some experience, and this should be a good team. Hopefully, they have the same players there. But I mean, sure, the Cleveland Browns suck right now, but they should get better. This is some very young guys. You got to give it up to Jacoby Brissett. Jacoby Brissett is making a case to be a starter on a different NFL team. Should Andrew Luck come back, I don't think Jacoby Brissett will last too long on the Colts. I think he has a starting caliber talent in him, so he could play for another team, whether it's Jacksonville next year because Blake Bortles might not be a Jaguar, or I don't know where else they would put him at. But Jacoby Brissett really looking good right now. He might not stay on the team. I don't think he's going to be a career backup. This guy's pretty good. So had 2 rushing touchdowns for himself, threw some very accurate passes. And yeah, Deshaun Kaiser really struggles with his accuracy. He threw some weird interceptions. I'm talking about it looked like he was throwing to the Colts. He probably thought he was an Indianapolis Colt. But he was 22 of 47, 242 yards, 2 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, and a rushing touchdown. So not the best day from your rookie, but you definitely want to see something better from that. And Jacoby Brissett had a good day, 17 out of 24, very efficient, 259 yards and a touchdown. Also had 2 rushing touchdowns for himself. And how about T.Y. Hilton, the reigning receiving leader of the 2016 season, balling out once again, 7 receptions, 153 yards and a touchdown. And then we move on to the Denver versus Buffalo game. I think this was the upset of the century right now. I don't think much people thought Buffalo was going to win this game whatsoever. Buffalo's offense really was struggling. They only scored 21 against the Jets. They only scored 3 against the Carolina Panthers. And they scored 26 on the Denver Broncos, who I'm talking about completely demolished the Cowboys. And they wound up winning this game. I'm sure it was a home game. This could have been a trap game for Denver. They're coming in very inspired, very motivated, very cocky. They just beat the Dallas Cowboys, and they were the only team out of the Cowboys division to do so in the regular season. So they were very happy on their high horse. And, the Buffalo just takes that win right away from them. And, E.J. Gaines had a good day. Tre'Davious White had a good day. That Buffalo secondary definitely had a good day. And I wouldn't think that Demaryius Thomas and Emmanuel Sanders would struggle that much that they did, with these cornerbacks. But Tre'Davious White really looking good, really looking like a good rookie corner. And moving on to the Houston Texans versus the New England Patriots. And wow. Deshaun Watson going up against the New England Patriots defense and almost pulling out the win. The Houston Texans scored 33 points against the New England Patriots, and the Patriots struggled in the beginning. They were down 20-14 at one point when Tom Brady fumbled the ball, and it was a fumble by Whitney Merciless, and then caught by Jadeveon Clowney. Jadeveon Clowney, with his amazing speed, just breaks off to the end zone, and there's a touchdown there. But, I mean, this was a very competitive game. It didn't look like Tom Brady was phased at all. He was still throwing for a bunch of yards, throwing for 5 touchdowns with Chris Hogan and stuff like that. I'll tell you right now, the Houston Texans defense really struggled in this game. I'm talking about the secondary mostly. I mean, they were wide open plays receivers were wide open almost every single time, every single snap, and Tom Brady was just hitting them. Most of these long plays wound up to be touchdowns, even in the red zone during goal line. I mean, I think there was a touchdown to Chris Hogan, was it? Wide open in the end zone, and they were in between the 10-yard line. So The Texans defense definitely let the Texans down and prevented them from possibly pulling out a crazy upset. This was again at New England's at Gillette Stadium. Again at Gillette Stadium, that the New England Patriots get over 30 points scored on them. Kansas City pulled it out week 1, but the Texans couldn't pull it out week 3. Deshaun Watson wasn't too bad, but he wasn't great. He threw some stupid interceptions too, but he had a pretty accurate day than most days that he has. I remember this one play, he was throwing to Bruce Ellington straight down the seam for a touchdown between Devin McCourty and another cornerback. The safety Devin McCourty and another cornerback right through down the seam, up the middle to Bruce Ellington for a touchdown. He had a good day. Deshaun Watson, 22 of 33, 301 yards. I believe this is his first 300-yard game, and 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Tom Brady, 378 yards and 5 touchdowns. What a day from Tom Brady. This guy is ageless wonder for real. The New York Jets versus the Miami Dolphins. A lot of people were picking the Jets. I wasn't one of them, unfortunately. And Jay Cutler just doing Jay Cutler things. Throws an interception. I believe it was early in the game. And, the Jets offense didn't look too bad. The Jets defense didn't look too bad either. I believe, who was it? Terrence Brooks, who intercepts the punter and then intercepts Jay Cutler. Jay Cutler looked like he threw right to Terrence Brooks. I swear, it looked like Terrence Brooks was running the route and Jay Cutler meant to hit Terrence Brooks. That was a stupid interception. I'm talking, that was just Jay Cutler, vintage Jay Cutler right there. But yeah, the Miami Dolphins fall to the Jets 20-6, and it's partly due to Jay Ajayi. Jay Ajayi is the life of this offense, and this guy was shut down, only having 11 carries for 16 yards. I mean, from that right there, you know that the Miami Dolphins are going to struggle without their best player in Jay Ajayi. Moving on to the New Orleans Saints versus the Carolina Panthers. The Carolina Panthers losing to the Saints 34-13, and the Panthers really struggled. Cam Newton is probably the reason why they're struggling so much, and plus Kelvin Benjamin got injured early in the game. He wound up not playing most of the game. Cam Newton, he was 17 of 26, 167 yards, which, when it comes to Cam Newton, you can't expect a lot of yards from him, but still. And he also threw an interception. And I mean, he didn't have a great. He had 3 interceptions in this game, no passing touchdowns. He did have a rushing touchdown, but it was garbage time. It really didn't matter. Christian McCaffrey is also a reason too. Your 8th overall pick. This guy had 4 rushes for 16 yards, not good enough. And then you had, I'm sure he had the receiving game. I don't know if most of it was garbage time. I didn't watch the game. But it obviously didn't do much. They only scored 13 points. He didn't get a touchdown. 9 receptions, 101 yards. And he didn't do much, I guess. Kenny Vaccaro had a good game, getting 2 interceptions out of the 3 Cam Newton threw. And New Orleans, man, they really did not want to get a loss here, especially to a division rival. They want to try to make a playoff run, but I still don't think they're going to do anything with that defense. But boy, did that defense show up out of nowhere. I mean, where did that defense come from? Where was that defense in the other games? I don't know, but good play by the Saints defense and helping them win this game. Drew Brees needed some help, and he got it. Pittsburgh versus Chicago. Oh my God, this is one of the games I thought, Pittsburgh always loses weird games in every season, at least one time. I thought that one time was going to be against the Vikings. It wound up not being the case, but it was Chicago. I chose Pittsburgh to win this game, but something was telling me to pick Chicago. A lot of people were picking Chicago because they knew Pittsburgh can choke this game. It was on the road, and Chicago plays well at home, almost beating the Falcons 23-17. Almost pulling off the win there, but couldn't get it. They got it done against the Pittsburgh Steelers. And like I said, Steelers always lose games like this. And Jordan Howard and Tariq Cohen, they're probably one of the best running back duos in the league right now. I mean, you've got Jordan Howard, who completely shredded it 23 carries, 138 yards, and Tariq Cohen, 12 carries, 78 yards. And mind you, those two running backs led the team in rushing and led the team in receiving. And by the way, fun fact for you guys, they got this win. The Chicago Bears got this win against the Pittsburgh Steelers. I didn't write down the score, but I believe it was 23-17. Ironically, just like how the Falcons game showed up, but the other way around. 23-17. And a fun fact for you guys, that Deontay Thompson was the only wide receiver to catch a ball for the Chicago Bears. Everyone else was either a running back. There was 3 running backs: Tariq Cohen, Jordan Howard, and Benny Cunningham. And then some tight ends, Zach Miller and Adam Shaheen. And then I believe that was it for the receivers. And that's it. Only one wide receiver. Josh Bellamy didn't get anything. And so on and so forth. So I guess that's how Chicago's going to run their offense. And I can't believe Pittsburgh lost in that way. And Deontay Thompson only had 1 reception for 9 yards. I mean, seriously. Marcus Cooper makes a terrible play. I mean, they won this game, but if they didn't win this game, if they lost by a field goal, it would definitely be on Marcus Cooper. If you guys didn't know, it was a blocked field goal. I can't remember who blocked it. It was a blocked field goal. Marcus Cooper, it lands right in his hands. He runs down the end zone. He starts walking to the end zone like nobody's chasing him. And Vance McDonald, who was just traded to the Steelers, makes a great play in swatting the ball away before it reaches the end zone, and it winds up being a touchback. But they still couldn't pull off the win. Jesus. And then we move on to Tampa Bay versus the Minnesota Vikings. And man, the Vikings, I mean, this is a pure example of how Jameis Winston could never reach his potential of being a top 5 quarterback or even being the best quarterback ever. This is one of the games that shows that, he might not be that guy because, his interceptions, he has to clean that up. His turnovers in general, he just freely throws it up like he's still in college, and somebody's going to come down with the ball. I mean, he's just throwing it up. He gets intercepted, throwing it to the quadruple coverage. He tried to throw to, I believe it was Deshaun Jackson. Correct me if I'm wrong, or Mike Evans. Deshaun Jackson or Mike Evans throws it up in the end zone from very deep in quadruple coverage, and Andrew Sendejo winds up picking it off. And then, another interception was a tipped pass for interception, fine, but it was still a bad throw, a bad decision to make. They almost came back. They scored a touchdown. Cameron Brate scored a touchdown from the red zone. And then they come back and get another score. Deshaun Jackson completely beats out Tremaine Brock, and he gets a touchdown. And, all of a sudden, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are right back in it. And guess what? Jameis Winston throws another interception, and that's game right there. So, that's the reason why Jameis Winston could never reach his potential. It's going to be because of his turnovers, his bad decision making, and that's why Marcus Mariota will probably always be the favorite in that draft class. So, and then, look, who the hell is Adam Thielen? I mean, I could have sworn that guy was just like a punt returner or, a kick returner or something like that. Where the hell did he come from? I mean, this is his 3rd straight 90-plus yard game. He had 98 yards this game, and this is his lowest amount of yards in this season. The other games, he was 150-something, and the other game was 120-something. I don't know. But 98 yards from Adam Thielen. Who the hell is this guy? I don't know, but I can't wait to watch him. I can't wait to watch a Minnesota Viking game to see. Or I'm probably gonna pull up the All-22 tape and see how good this guy really is. But and Stephon Diggs, we all know we have to start considering Stephon Diggs to be a top 10 wide receiver in the league. I don't think a lot of people consider him as it. I think he's a top 10 receiver in this league. I mean, coming from being a 5th round pick. I mean, nobody really thought he was going to, assume a number 1 role for the Vikings. He was meant to just be a slot guy. And look what he's become. This guy's become an absolute monster. He gets a total of 8 receptions for 173 yards and 2 touchdowns. 2 very impressive touchdowns. And Case Keenum, where the hell did this come from? I mean, think about if Sam Bradford was playing this game, who was more accurate and more efficient with the football. Think about how many yards he could have had. Case Keenum, 25 of 33, 369 yards and 3 touchdowns. The Tampa Bay defense completely got exposed. And that was a crazy game by the Vikings, a great win by the Vikings. And hopefully staying in this race in the NFC North. And we move on to the Seattle versus Tennessee game. And I chose this game right. I knew Tennessee would pull off this win, but not in this fashion. I thought it was going to be a very low-scoring, very defensive game between these two teams. But it was not. I predicted 17-10. It wound up being 33-27. Russell Wilson having a career day, throwing for 373 yards, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. He had a fantastic day, throwing all over this Titans secondary, who was pretty mediocre, and he showed it there. Russell Wilson just doing Russell Wilson things. Doug Baldwin looked great. He had a fantastic toe drag swag touchdown in the corner of the end zone, and he totaled 10 receptions for 105 yards and a touchdown. And you got to look at the Titans wide receivers. They went from one of the worst wide receiving corps in the league last year to one of the best this year. Mind you, Corey Davis, their rookie draft pick, number one draft pick this year, 5th overall, did not play this game, and the Marcus Mariota and the wide receivers still had a great day. The wide receivers, you got Corey Davis, who's your 5th overall draft pick. Then you got Taywan Taylor, who's your third round draft pick, who is no joke either. He's a great player. You got Rashard Matthews, who broke out a screenplay. It was a offsides call, a free play. Throw it to Rashard Matthews, take it 55 yards to the house. And then you got Eric Decker, who is a veteran, longtime Denver Bronco, had a little bit of time with the Jets and balling out still with the Tennessee Titans. I believe that guy's like 30 years old or 31 years old. He's still balling out. So they have a lot of depth. And then how about the running backs? DeMarco Murray breaking out a 75-yard run. And it seems like it's either Murray or it's either Derrick Henry having a great day. I mean, for this offense, on top of that, the offensive line. Marcus Mariota was not sacked at all this game. This offensive line is top 5. There's no dispute in that. You cannot find a weakness in this Tennessee Titans offense. You cannot find a weakness in their offense. Their defense are the only reason that they will lose games this season. It's going to be because of the defense. They almost choked it, in this game. The offense played great, but the defense almost let up, a loss at home. But they pull out the win 33-27. Both these quarterbacks threw some wild and very high passes, very inaccurate passes in the beginning of the game, but both the quarterbacks cleaned it up and they played very efficient and made some plays in the second half. We move on to Cincinnati versus Green Bay, and already, like I predicted, Cincinnati's offense will get better, because that's usually the trend when the offensive coordinator or head coach or defensive coordinator or whoever it is gets fired. If they hire in-house, for this example, Bill Lazor, the quarterback's coach, was promoted to the offensive coordinator position, and already, if they hire in-house, their offense already got better. It's just been the trend in these past couple years. I knew their offense would get better, and Green Bay's secondary is not that good. They showed it. So Andy Dalton didn't have a bad day. 21-27, very efficient, 212 yards and 2 touchdowns. So that just shows that he was very careful with the football. Giovanni Bernard, who I love Giovanni Bernard. He had a good game. Joe Mixon got some more carries, 18 carries for about 68 yards, I believe, or 62 yards. 8 carries for 62 yards. And guys, I'm predicting this right now. Joe Mixon will be the starter when it comes to the end of the season. By the end of the season, Joe Mixon will be the starter for the Cincinnati Bengals. He's doing a great job right now. Not record-breaking numbers or anything like Kareem Hunt or anything, but he's doing great there in Cincinnati. And Aaron Rodgers, man. Aaron Rodgers turning any receiver into a superstar. In this case, in this game, it was Geronimo Allison wouldn't you like to have that name, Geronimo Allison? But, I mean, this guy balled out. He had over 100 yards. I don't think I wrote down how much yards he had. Stupid me for not doing that. But he had over 100 yards. I believe it was like 112 or something like that. Or more than that, 112 yards or something like that. But he balled out, especially at the last overtime play. It was offsides called. Pac-Man Jones kind of slowed down. Geronimo Allison took advantage of that, of the coverage there. Caught the ball right between the safety and the cornerback. And just whoop-de-whopped all the way down until he got tackled. And they kicked the field goal and won the game in overtime. And it didn't help, that Cincinnati missed a field goal. They could have avoided going to overtime if they would have made that field goal. They missed the field goal again. They're already having kicker problems. They already got rid of Mike Nugent from last year, who had problems, and now they're struggling with their kicker this year. I believe it was Randy Bullock, who's pretty bad. And mind you, they could have had Jake Elliott. They drafted Jake Elliott with a 5th round pick, and they cut him, and look what the hell he did with the Eagles against the Giants. I'm not even going to get into that. But Aaron Rodgers, in the start of the second quarter, throws an interception, a pick 6 to William Jackson, who's one of my favorite players coming out of the 2016 draft. One of my highly rated cornerbacks in that draft. He was injured. He was out for the whole year, his rookie year. Comes back this year, and he's balling out. Or just got an interception on Aaron Rodgers at home. So, great play by William Jackson, and he's going to be looked at in the highlights. And yeah, classic Aaron Rodgers at the end of the game. Overtime, he, with his hard count, gets a player offsides and just free play, lob it up to Geronimo Allison. There's no risk in throwing it up because you got a free play. Geronimo Allison takes it all the way down into the red zone and they kick a field goal. Cincinnati can't answer and they win the game, coming back from I believe a 10-point deficit. Correct me if I'm wrong. I believe they came back from a 10-point deficit. But Green Bay and Cincinnati, that was a great game there. Kansas City versus San Diego. And you guys know how much I really don't like Terrence Mitchell. Based on the Kansas City game versus New England and the Kansas City game versus Philadelphia, I guess he got a new pair of hands, like I was saying. Get this dude a new pair of hands. He got a new pair of hands. He picked off Phillip Rivers in the start of the game. First quarter, not even 4 minutes has gone by yet. Picks off Phillip Rivers and has some great coverage on Travis Benjamin. Also got himself some new legs as well. And, stuck with Travis Benjamin on that stop and go. Got the interception. And then Alex Smith winds up going down the field and scoring a touchdown. And guess what happens again? Phillip Rivers throws another interception. 2 interceptions by 8 minutes of the game. The first 8 minutes of the game, 2 interceptions. That already puts them down in a hole. 14-0 in the first quarter. Not even the half of the first quarter is gone yet. It's already 14-0. So you can imagine San Diego didn't play, with much motivation anymore, and they didn't for the rest of the game. They only scored 10 points in this game. Marcus Peters had a great interception. Going over a route. It was on Antonio Gates. I don't know how Phillip Rivers did not see him there. He was right in front of Antonio Gates, or right behind Antonio Gates. Gets that interception, and then Terrence Mitchell gets himself an interception. But Terrence Mitchell got mossed. I mean, every game he always. This guy's always on the other side of the highlights, I swear. I was watching the highlights, and I was just cracking up. Terrence Mitchell does not get a break. He gets an interception. He makes up for all that he's messed up in this year so far, and then he gets mossed by Travis Benjamin. It was a complete freaking Hail Mary, and he gets mossed. I mean, it's funny. It's funny. And Kareem Hunt, I mean, Kareem Hunt, 172 yards on 17 carries and a touchdown. This guy is dominating the NFL right now, just like Ezekiel did last year, but Kareem Hunt does not have a great offensive line in front of him. He's just making plays himself, and he's just a complete monster. Number 27, representing the number 27 very well, very well. Moving on to the final and last game. Sorry this video was so long, but Oakland versus Washington. I didn't expect this whatsoever. Oakland Washington punched Oakland straight in the mouth. I bet they were very confident going in. I bet that for sure. Very confident going in. Washington has not been looking good this year. And, I mean, they were hoping, they were expecting themselves to get a win here. And that wound up not being the case. Derek Carr throws an interception early in the first quarter, and it was over from there. Kirk Cousins, this wasn't a good matchup for the Oakland defense. Kirk Cousins is a gunslinger. It doesn't matter, what receivers he has. He always makes plays with the football. He's very accurate with the football. He's not afraid to throw it downfield, and we saw that there. Exhibit A, Josh Doxson just lobs it up for Josh Doxson, who finally shows up. He was, I believe, the first wide receiver taken in the 2016 draft. And he was out for most of the season for Washington. He comes back and this year and has a 53-yard freaking reception for a touchdown. Completely mosses a guy. I don't know if it was David Emerson or who it was, but completely got mossed. And great play by the Washington offense there. And Chris Thompson. How about Chris Thompson? We have to start talking about Chris Thompson as possibly being the best scat back in the league. I know he's popped up out of nowhere. Who's Chris Thompson? But, I mean, he's been doing pretty good for a couple years now for Washington. It's just that nobody really pays attention to him. Probably because he has such a basic name, Chris Thompson. But he's looking good right now. And he's definitely a wild card for the Washington Redskins. And they might have found themselves a very good, Darren Sproles-like player for themselves. And this guy might be the best scat back in the league. I don't think you guys can show me who's better, what scat back is having a better season right now. So the Oakland Raiders fall to the Washington Redskins 27-10 on Sunday Night Football. I wish. Sunday Night Football. And tonight will be Monday Night Football. The Dallas Cowboys go against the Arizona Cardinals. So far, I am 7-8 in my predictions. I have never went negative in my picks before in a week, and I don't want to start now. I hate Dallas, but I'm hoping they get the win because I want to be right. So I don't want to have a negative record in my predictions, so hopefully the Cowboys win. And I'll see you guys in the next video.